What gives you excitement for it, and what gives you angst about it? Like, what keeps you up at night about the direction of, let's say, staffing for ideal teams?
What I would say keeps me up is there's a lot of recruiters, plain and simple, right?
Yeah.
In chiropractic, we were a big fish in a small bowl. It was easy, right? Inside of the med spa slash multidisciplinary practices, there's not really anybody doing it out there. Inside of ideal teams, as we've been doing this now, we're going on 4 years. Outside of kind of our industry, there's a lot of players out there. There's a lot of big players out there. There's a lot of ways that different players are doing different things. Some of them have talent that they go out and try to place. Other people are, got another good friend who's a CEO of an owner of a large contracting business out in Albuquerque. And literally every single day he gets an email from a recruiter asking him if he can help him, right?
Yeah.
So, they're like dogs in a bone in the recruiting world. So I would say that it's just, we want to work with good people.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Building a Better Business. Today's guest is Dr. Mark Mouw. He's a chiropractor in the Council Bluffs, Iowa area, but he is heavily involved in a number of different businesses. So I'm really excited to bring him on the show today just to talk about what he's working on, how he started all of these, and how it could benefit you as a business owner. Dr. Mark, welcome to the show.
Awesome, Jake. Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to just giving my heart and content of hopefully helping each business owner out there maybe to take one thing away from today to improve maybe something that they're doing in their business and in their lives.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Dr. Mark, you and I have known each other for over a decade, close to a decade at this point. And one of the things I've always loved about you, besides just being an amazing human being, is that you have an entrepreneurial spirit at your core. I mean, you're a chiropractor by trade, but as you always say, you're almost a business owner before you're a chiropractor, which I love that. Most chiropractors are chiropractors first, business owners second. Yeah. And because of that sort of order, you've got your hand in a number of different businesses, not only just in your own family practice in Council Bluffs, but you've got staffing agencies, you've got a hand in some tech companies, you've got chiro matchmakers. I mean, the list goes on and on. Can you kind of walk us through some of the background of these, how they kind of all connected, and why a myriad of businesses instead of just one?
Well, I think you got to start back with where I grew up. I was a farm kid. So both my grandparents owned their own farms. My dad owned his own farm. So I only knew people working for themselves. So I always knew when I was going to go to school, because I didn't want to be a farmer, right? I mean, that's the reason why I'm a chiropractor or I'm a professional. I didn't want to go back to the farm, and God bless them, because I saw the work that went into that, and that made me who I am today. But what I saw is people running their own businesses, making their own decisions, having teams of help to help move those farms, because they were larger farms, right? So I didn't know the difference of working for somebody, which I don't think I probably would have ever been a good employee, to be honest. So when I went on to chiropractic school, I met my wife there. We came out of school. We actually did work for a doctor for about 18 months. It was a really good relationship, but the awesome thing was he allowed me to open a practice on my own. He was in St. Louis. We were in Sioux City, Iowa. We opened it from scratch. It was my wife and I. What I said is I got to use his money to actually learn how to run a business for 18 months, which was helpful. Awesome. But it was great because we grew very quickly in 18 months, and he knew there was going to be an exit plan with us moving on, because I told him we were going to open our own practice. And that's when we moved down here to Council Bluffs. And it's been, we just celebrated our 20th anniversary in our practice on January 5th. We started out as a mom and pop shop. It was Lynn and I. In a 1,500 square foot office on January 5th, and we had 3 new patients on the schedule. And now I'm proud to say that we have 5 doctors in the office now, a large staff, and we see well over 1,000 visits a week in our practice. And the reason why is because it's just the messaging that we bring of health and wellness. And I tell new patients that walk into our office, I know you're walking in with a symptom, an issue, you're suffering from something. But I'll tell you today, 95% of the people who walk into our practice are actually well. Yeah. They're smiling, they're healing. I'm sure you don't mind me sharing, but you're one of them. I just saw you in the office. I gave you a big hug the other day when you walked in for your wellness visit. So what we are is we've based this, really our business around this wellness. And I would just say, to start out with, that's the reason why I think we've grown so quickly is because we live in such a sick environment that people want to have people telling them that they can be well, because in most cases, what they're hearing on TV and a lot of the other aspects is they're being told something differently, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
But what that did is that was able to morph me into this chiropractic profession where I got to meet and rub shoulders around a lot of people who are super successful. So 12 years ago, we joined a mastermind group of high-level chiropractors. Met two gentlemen in that group, and their wives are chiropractors as well. We just started this great tight relationship that now literally our families are best friends. We're in Costa Rica for the holidays together with them. That's where I want to be, right? My daughter's best friends are them, and they live all over the United States. And what we did is we launched a business in 6 years ago. So it was 2019, 18. It was called Chiro Matchmakers. And what we did is we saw chiropractic and hiring was sideways at that point, with owners and associates. And we had all built really good associate models. We were successful with it, but it wasn't being done well in our profession. So we thought we had a niche there. So as we launched that, our sister company was called Ideal Teams. And what we were able to do is, as we continue to grow Chiro Matchmakers, other professionals from other professions and healthcare professionals initially came to us and said, hey, I've heard what you were doing. My buddy, the chiropractor up the street, I'm a dentist. I need a dental assistant. Or we've even had accountants reach out to us and investors and so forth to add to their teams. So we just gradually have been growing that business over time, and it's been fun as it's gradually taken off.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because you oftentimes see staffing agencies niche down. Like, like for instance, you started with just healthcare, but apparently you did so well that you were able to broaden the spec, like take the processes and systems and recruiting that you guys do and apply it to different industries. Was there some learnings there that you had, or maybe some things you took away from specializing and then to moving from one specialty to another, that maybe would be helpful for people, other business owners who are thinking, well, I do this one thing, but I could probably apply it to that other thing as well. Like, how did you do that and navigate it successfully?
Well, I think there has to be a blue ocean. I think there has to be an opportunity there. And what we saw in the chiropractic profession, no one was doing that at all, really. And if they were, they were doing it on job boards, right? So what we did is we actually dove in and we actually became more personal and connecting with the doctors one-on-one. We were building out more or less a job description for them, which made sense because they didn't really know how to build it out. And what we did is, to be honest, we use a secret sauce, and we use actually a licensed behavioral assessment that's EEOC compliant.
Yeah. Okay.
Not a lot of business owners know that Strengths Finders, Enneagram, a lot of those assessments are personality tests, and they're actually illegal to use in the pre-hiring process.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
They need to be EEOC compliant. So we use a very specific assessment. It's PDP is what it's called. But what we recognize, this is a 50 question test, takes about 10 minutes. And what it does is it gives us 23 pages of information. And what it gives us is it gives us how a person is built to behave, right? A person can come in and interview. The problem is that they can fib on their interview. They can act differently. Maybe even subconsciously, they're going to say things, right? And what we know is that inside of this assessment, we know what motivates a person, what demotivates a person, and what stresses a person. And when you see a job title, if you've ever applied for a position, you kind of know what they want. So during the interview process, guess what you're more likely to do? Talk the language of that person they're looking to hire. But the thing is this assessment doesn't lie. It's what we call and coined behavioral blood typing. It literally will tell us how Jake is built to behave. Yeah. And I think not only in chiropractic, but inside of the hiring world, what I believe we do a lot of times is we hire on gut and we fire on behavior. Yeah. And the example in chiropractic is I want to bring a doctor in to help me build my practice. So this doctor interviews, they went to the same school, they talk the same language, they like each other, like, oh man, this is going to be the best relationship. And what we saw in chiropractic 6 years ago is that over 65% of associateships were failing within the first 18 months. Wow. And the reason why is expectations and agreements were so far off. The owner doctor said, hey, I'm going to bring Dr. Jake in to help build my practice. But the doctor said, I'll help build your practice. But really, they were built more of a caregiver, and they were really good at taking care of patients. So 18 months down the road, the doctor didn't get what he wanted. the associate wasn't getting paid what he wanted because he
Yeah.
wasn't bringing in new patients, but he was doing a great job adjusting. And then all of a sudden we had, divorces happening,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We had people getting fired and people leaving chiropractic because of their first job was such a nightmare for them, to needless to say.
Yeah.
This assessment is really what happens. So what has to happen if you're going to move in your business to another profession or expand it is there something inside of that expansion that there is a blue ocean that's not already overrun, and that you're just this silent person on the outside?
Yeah.
Where we really came in and we were the one talking knowledge into this profession that then gradually been able to expand out because of the success we had in chiropractic and what we are showing with reviews and, stick rates of people being inside of a practice for a long period of time.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said there, even the secret sauce you talk about, I mean, you've got to have blue ocean in that, what you're saying there is an opportunity. Like there's got to be an opportunity there. Not a lot of people swimming in that ocean, but you have to have a secret sauce, that a differentiator, something that's some value proposition that will allow you to leverage it somewhere else. And for you guys, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of, I know you're a process guy, you're a systems guy. Yeah. And you guys have this system of hiring people correctly so that they're not only the right person, but the right person in the right seat on the right bus. But so if you're thinking about moving into a different industry, you've got to identify, like, what is your differentiator? I mean, are you like everybody else? Because this might be a hard transition. But if you got something that is, like you said, secret sauce, that kind of gives you a leg up when you move over into somebody, like you moved into an accounting area. And I can almost guarantee that you're going to have success in that area as well. I'd love to hear. So you moved from being a chiropractor, which you still are, and you still run that practice. You're in Chiro Matchmakers, and then you start Ideal Teams. So let's kind of focus on Ideal Teams since that's the newest thing. What was it that allowed you guys to continue to grow Ideal Teams? I mean, I know you're very well connected in like the chiropractic world, and you've got a lot of good connections. And so you'll have some natural growth from that. But was there sort of like a catalyst or a moment or even a problem that you solved that kind of took Ideal Teams and, had that sort of hockey stick curve upwards?
Yeah. So it was awesome in chiropractic, we kind of slayed that dragon over the first 3 years. And because we were chiropractors, we had confidence in this profession because people knew the three of us as owners due to what we do in the profession and speaking on stages and so forth. But you still have to prove and
you got to show up,
and deliver. It's even worse and harder because you're going to show up on a stage, and if you did deliver, there's going to be an issue, right?
Yeah.
So
it's expectation.
It's an interesting process. It's teaching. But what I think we saw is that inside of chiropractic, and I think this is an evolution in every business, is now we see in chiropractic, a lot of chiropractors are, becoming more multidisciplinary. And, in our practice, we were a chiropractic office, and then we gradually added physiotherapy, and then we added decompression, which is solving disc issues now. And then we have neuropathy care now, so we continue to stack on. And now what we saw 3-4 years in the chiropractic profession is doctors really became multidisciplinary. So they were bringing in nurse practitioners, and they were bringing in physician's assistants, and they were bringing in nurses. So then we started to have doctors reach out to us and like, you've helped me hire an associate. You helped me hire a front desk person. You helped me hire, a back office person. Can you help me find a nurse practitioner? And we were like, we don't know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where that research came in for the next 3 to 5 months is really getting out and understanding the nurse practitioner recruiting world, number one. Speaking to some nurse practitioners and what are they looking for and what are the opportunities and what do they get paid and salary. So it was understanding what that nurse practitioner was looking for, because you can post all the jobs you want, but if you don't know what the person looking for the job wants, it's really hard to connect them. That's why we're matchmaking, right? This isn't like we're trying to help an owner find a person to take a position. No, we're trying to help an owner place a position, but we're also trying to place what we call talent. We're trying to get them a great position as well, because that's what's going to help make our owner and them happy, right? So it's taking the time to build out, do your research, and not just jump in. I see so many people going like, oh, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump off into the dock. We didn't do that. What we said is we're going to put a lure in the water.
Yeah.
Let's just find out what that looks like. We did a few of the jobs. We were successful. And like, okay, we've got this niche. Now we have nurse practitioner matchmakers, right? And then that goes into a doctor who's a dentist sees a chiropractor,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, how'd you find so and so?" Well, we use chiro matchmakers. Do you think they can find a dentist? So then all of a sudden we had dentists coming to us, and then the dentist has an accountant who's a patient, and while the mouth is open, they're talking to the accountant like, "How'd you find Sally? She's awesome at the front desk." Well, chiro matchmakers or ideal teams or dental matchmakers did this. So it was that iteration, and what I tell people is that, man, you have a great business idea. Yes, jump all in doing the research. But before you launch business, the business per se is slow down to speed up is what I tell people.
Yeah.
Slow down at the beginning. Make sure you're doing your research. Know what the job is. Talk into the profession. Find out who's been successful. Find out what people want. Build out a system, procedures, and processes, because 2 or 3 failures right at the beginning could be the end of the business.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that answer. I have these discussions a lot, obviously, on this podcast, and sometimes sometimes the answer is, oh, we started affiliate marketing and that was our catalyst, or we had a problem internally. We realized that, well, this problem we just solved can actually be helpful for anybody else. And that was sort of your answer. I love is the one most people overlook is just do your job super stinking well. Yeah. Show up, do a great job. And if people are happy with how you served them before, they're going to expect that you're going to serve them just as well going forward. And so, like you said, you had doctors reach out and say, "Hey, you helped me with an associate. Can you help me with this other one?" That is the best way to grow your business exponentially, is serve them so well that whenever they have a need, they think, "Oh, I got to go to Dr. Mark. He helped me. Like he crushed it last time. Like I'm going to go back to him, and I'm going to tell everybody else about it too."
I would tell you year over year, Jake, 25% plus of our business is for people who've already used us. Not because they're losing the person that they had. It's just that they lose a person we didn't help them hire, right? Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, geez, my doctor that they did, or my front desk, or my back office person." And this really goes, what's really, really cool is that, let's be transparent. A front desk person in my office is probably the same front desk person that would work in your office, right? Yep. So that's an easy hire. You know what it is. And what we do is we've built out avatars for these positions. A back office person who's doing accounting and books and so forth, and maybe insurance, is the same type of person who can handle books and so forth, and maybe the contracting business, because we've actually hired some people to go into contracting offices now. So it's not just we're not niched down anymore. And like you said, a lot of people go deep and they dive into niches. Well, we did the niche. Yeah. We figured the niche out. When you have systems, procedures, and processes that are successful in any type of business, a lot of times they will move into another business realm. And in the recruiting world, with this, what we call our PDP, it's massively important because we can actually place on behavior. So I said before, most people hire on gut and fire on behavior. What the PDP allows us to do, I tell all my clients, PDP allows us to hire on behavior. We'll know if a person's built to do the job by their assessment, right? Yeah. Well, that's why we do a job description first. So every client we work with, we do a 30-minute to an hour session called a discovery session. And that discovery section actually builds out your avatar job description. There are questions that have to be answered to find out what that person needs to do in your office or practice or whatever job you're in. And we're going to be your biggest advocate. So number one, you have to be able to explain what you're looking for. Yep. And that's hard for people sometimes. Like, really, I'm looking for a front desk person. Well, what's that mean?
What do they do?
Someone who's a front desk. And I'm like, no, I want to know what that means. Give me these 22, 37, 47 things that we need to know, because we're going to be your advocate. And my recruiting team, one of our recruiters is going to be your advocate. Yeah. And you're going to be working one-on-one with them, Jake. And guess what? To find that person, we need to be able to talk just like we would about your office as if we worked in your office. Yeah. So we build that out, and then we use these behavioral assessments to make sure they're the right person to do the job. Yeah. Example, front desk, extrovert. Back office, introvert. Okay. Front desk, more wow. Back office, more precise, routine, responsible. Guess what? That can be assessed. And that's what we build out through this process. And then we go search for that person. Yeah.
Do you find that most business owners or chiropractors don't quite know what they're looking for? Like, they know what they want a front office person, but they don't quite know what that means. They don't quite know like how we're going to measure success. They don't quite know what they're looking for. Do you find that to be more often the case?
Yeah, it's interesting because we start talking about KPIs and scoreboards and what's the expectations and what do you need this person to do. They're kind of like, a lot of times,
you tell
especially
me.
to be transparent, small business owners, right? They're just like, I'm just trying to survive. Like my front desk person left me. They're leaving me in 2 weeks. They gave me 2 weeks notice. I need somebody in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, that's the worst time to hire somebody, right? When I coach doctors, I'm always like, be slightly overstaffed instead of understaffed, right? Slightly overstaffed, number one, it's going to help you grow. Number two, when somebody's on vacation, you're not having to trim back on what's going on. And number three, if someone leaves you, at least you have a person to step in until you find the next person to replace that doctor, right? Or that CA, chiropractic assistant, we call them in our office. So I would hope that every business is doing that, because when we run too lean and mean on team, that's gonna be a t-shirt actually.
Yeah,
we have that. I think I just made that up on the spot.
Yeah.
What happens is then we're not able to grow. And then when we do lose somebody, the world's going to fall apart. And we need somebody right away. And then when we need somebody in 2 weeks to replace the person, do we hire usually the right person or the wrong person?
Yeah.
The wrong person.
Usually the wrong person.
We're under the gun,
in 2 weeks, it's the wrong person.
I'm under the gun. I'm going to take 3 days. So you know what? There's assessments that allow us to understand how they behave. We got to make sure we look at their references. We need to make sure we see what the past history is. I mean, all the things that go into it. And it's not just a quick process, even if it's a front desk person, because guess who the front desk person is going to see? Everybody in your office or your business, or they're going to be talking to that person. Sometimes I call businesses and I talk to the person on the phone and I'm like, there's no way I could hire that person. They're terrible.
Yeah.
And I may not even go back to that business again just because of that first
I've had
interaction.
that experience. Yeah. I've had that experience. Maybe the right person, but the wrong seat. I mean,
100%.
You might have your back office person at the front of the house, and they're probably pretty darn good at what they do, but they're just not good at that specific task.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're a business owner for decades now. You've had a number of businesses. Everybody listening here knows that it's not always rainbows and sunshine on owning a business. Let's talk about the difficulties you've had let's use ideal teams. Talk to us about maybe like one of the hardest things you've had to go through, you and your team, as you've built ideal teams. Like, what has been something that was seemingly insurmountable, and then how'd you overcome that?
Oh, that's a good question, Jake. I think, being owned by 3 chiropractors, knowing the medical space and knowing team members there, I think the 18 months to 2 years where we're really launching the ideal teams component of this business, I mean, we took some big punches, right? And a lot of times what we'll do a retainer, okay, to do a position to then place. Yeah. And what we'll do is sometimes the retainer is usually a 3 to 6 month process, find that person, and then you pay on the back end. And a lot of times what happens, Jake, is we don't have the final say. The owner does.
Sure.
And sometimes the owner drags their feet, and we've sent them 6 good candidates, and you're just like, what are you waiting for? And then they lose candidates. So I think, in chiropractic, we could really help direct people like this. I get a call. I've got 2 candidates, Dr. Mark. Which one do you think would be good? And I'd go over them with them and I'd help them make a decision. They're like, awesome. And they'd move forward. In the other professions, I'm a chiropractor to them, right? I own a recruiting business. They might not even know. They might even know I'm a doctor at that point. Say, by Mark, if I'm not dealing with, doctors, right? Yeah. So they're dealing with Mark, and they're not going to look at Mark and go like, who do I hire? So, I think it was just the cash flow at the beginning, because you're taking a retainer, you're spending more than the retainer to find the position. Sure. And then you're, underwater on that job. So you want to place, and you have to place as soon as possible. And then it's just paying the team on top of that component, right? As you're taking on those positions. So it was learning how to, I'll make it even simpler. It was learning to take good jobs. Oh, interesting. Okay. Because when you're starting and launching something, what do you usually do? Take every job. Take every job, right? And every job can, unfortunately, kind of screw you in the backside at times if you don't place it. So what we really are great at in chiropractic is we know those good jobs.
Yeah.
In the healthcare profession, we know those good jobs.
Yeah.
And what we've gotten really good at is we're starting to know those good jobs and which ones to take and the people to work with and so forth. Because once again, I'll go back to ProScan. And ProScan, really, there's three types of people. There's entrepreneurs, there's business builders, and there are caregivers. You can use those words in every business, and that's a chiropractic term: entrepreneur, business builder, the caregiver's chiropractic. But let's be honest. You're working in a real estate business. The person sitting behind the desk in the back who's pushing paper, they're a caregiver, right?
Yeah.
They're not the extrovert. They're not going to sell anything for you, but they're doing the paperwork. You need them on your team, right? But the thing is that there's certain people that are owners that a lot of times, the caregiver type owner, a lot of times in chiropractic, they're really hard to work with because they're scared to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
But then there's the entrepreneur that just wants to run over you and not take your advice.
Yeah.
So I'm on myself and one of our other owners, we take most of the calls from all clients across all industries because we want to know that we want to work with Jake. Jake's a good guy, man. He's got great referrals where he's coming from. Their business is wonderful. He's fun tonight. He's nice on the phone. He's respectful. But you get a lot of business owners who are kind of jerks.
Yeah.
They're jerks to me, and they're trying to hire me to place them.
Yeah.
How do I place somebody with a jerk?
Yeah.
I think that's it, is like knowing what you should and shouldn't advance with inside of whatever that job that is.
Yeah. That's really good. I mean, you touched on something there about the difficulty of being a new business is you take every single job because you need the revenue. Quick question for you. Would you, knowing now what you didn't know then, would you have started by only taking the right ones? Or do you feel like that's a necessary thing as a new business? Like that's just nature of the beast. You got to take all jobs and then you weed out from there. You learn, you pare it down, and you find your niche.
Yeah, I would tell you, I'll go from business to business to business, in chiropractic. You have your first 3 patients.
Yeah.
You want to help people. You come out of school, you're a doctor, you have a business, you have people you want to help. But on the other side, as business owners who are listening, guess what? You also have bills.
Yeah.
And you have 2 large college loans, you have a business loan and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, you might suck as a patient, but I'll take you and I'll try to fix you. I'll try to convert you, right? And I'll be honest. I mean, as a chiropractor, I want to help everybody. I know that I don't adjust anymore. I'm running my practice at this point, but I know that if you come into my practice, I'm still there on Mondays and Wednesdays. I work with our complicated patients, making sure that we can get really great changes. And, they don't have to have disc surgeries and everything else that comes in. And neuropathy patients, we can reverse that as we're root cause healers. But I know we can help you. Do I turn people away? Our saying in our office is this: everybody needs a chiropractor. We just might not be your chiropractor.
Sure. Yeah.
And I would say once a month we turn a person away just because they want a quick fix. And in chiropractic, there's nothing quick about it, right? Yeah. It's not like a shot in the butt. It's time. It takes the body time to heal. It takes time to body to fall apart. I would say in chiro matchmakers, the same thing, except in chiro matchmakers, we're just better funded.
Yeah.
So a jerk gets on the phone. I mean, like, I hate to say this, but I'm going to. We try not to take jobs for people in New Jersey. It's really, really weird. But it's interesting because multiple doctors we've worked with and multiple business we've worked with people in New Jersey. And some of my best friends are from New Jersey.
Yeah.
3 of my best friends are from New Jersey, and they're awesome people. But if I didn't know them, they might not be so awesome just the way they are. So I just tend to turn those jobs away. So that's the reason why we do an intro call. Somebody can't come into Ideal Teams or chiro matchmakers or nurse practitioner matchmakers and just schedule and pay us to hire us to start to find somebody. Everybody gets an intro call with myself or with Alan, and we accept them. I always tell a doctor, hey, or a client that's we're getting introduced with, hey, Jake, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your business. Where are your wins? Where do you need help? What are you missing? How can we help you? What does this job look like? And what I'm doing in that first 5 to 10 minutes is I'm interviewing them. And after that conversation, and we get done with that 5 to 10 minutes, and I'm going to say, you know what, Jake, I appreciate your time. I don't know if you knew this or not, but I was interviewing you, and I'm going to tell you what you have in a position that you're looking for. I can help you. Yeah, I know that. And if it's not, hey, Jake, you know what? I just don't think we can find that position. I don't tell them they're a jerk. I don't tell them they don't know what they're talking about.
It's not a right fit.
I don't coach them. It's just not a right fit. I mean, you know what? That sounds like a really hard hire. I don't think that's for us.
Yeah.
And I wish you well in the future. I don't want to waste any of your time, but I can't help you. That's what's been the fun part of what we're seeing, is that we now know good positions inside of a lot of industries that we can really help with.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of being a business owner, is at a certain point, you get to the place where you can say, I now have the freedom to choose who I do business with, because I want to do business with people I like, I know, I trust, I like to be around.
100%.
And you could eventually say, I don't think we're a right fit for you, whether that's, for the product we work with or relationally. Sorry, we're just not the right fit, but I can point you in the right direction to somebody who might be a good fit for you. And
Yeah,
that's one of the
100%.
beauties of being a business owner, is you have that freedom to do so.
Well, that's what happens if you survive those first couple of years.
That's true.
Right?
Yes. There's a couple customers you'll take just to take them and stay afloat. But eventually, hopefully you get to a place where you've built a better business and you can then start turning away customers if they're not a good fit for you.
100%.
What gives you, let's kind of, I'm going to ask you about the industry that you're in at large. What gives you excitement for it, and what gives you angst about it? Like, what keeps you up at night about the direction of, let's say, staffing for ideal teams?
What I would say keeps me up is there's a lot of recruiters, plain and simple, right?
Yeah.
In chiropractic, we were a big fish in a small bowl. It was easy, right? Inside of the med spa / multidisciplinary practices, there's not really anybody doing it out there. Inside of ideal teams, as we've been doing this now, we're going on 4 years outside of kind of our industry. There's a lot of players out there. There's a lot of big players out there. There's a lot of ways that different players are doing different things. Some of them have talent that they go out and try to place. Other people are, got another good friend who's a CEO of an owner of a large contracting business out in Albuquerque. And literally every single day he gets an email from a recruiter asking him if he can help him. Right.
Yeah.
So, they're like dogs on a bone in the recruiting world. So I would say that it's just, we want to work with good people. Where do you find those good people? Where do you market it? That's what we're finding. And that's as we grow ideal teams, it's like the marketing dollars you need to spend to get in front of good people is increased in that world compared to chiropractic, number one. But number two, the best positions that we take are ones that are referrals, right?
Yeah.
There's always that trust factor. And I think that's true in any of our businesses. Any business owner that's out there that's listening will know that. And if you're a younger business owner, the best thing you can do in your business is to get 25 to 50% of your business from referrals, right?
Yeah.
There's already a trust factor there.
Yeah.
Inside of chiropractic, inside of healthcare, I'm excited about healthcare. With the change in the regime, we're not going to go deep into that. Inside of who's leading, the presidency, number one is huge for us, and who's being head with Dr. Robert Kennedy is doing Make America Healthy Again. I just see the transformation that we need to have done. I'm not the only one seeing that. I want to say that's across every medical profession. They're sick and tired of being sick and tired of the same stuff over and over and over. We have to become a healthier nation. Yep. We are the 29th healthiest nation in the world. I'm going to be honest. I have to start a list here, and it might be hard for me to name 29 nations that would be healthy, healthier than us, but there are. And the reason why is just because of what's in our food, what we're given, and so forth. So that I lay awake because I got grandkids. Yeah. And I know they're growing up healthy, but I just see every generation, even patients coming to my office, just the unhealthiness of our teenagers and what's going on. So I lie awake just for the future of our nation's health, right? So that's the reason why I still do what I do. Still go into my office. I still talk. I'm still coaching. I'm still, so forth. Because we have to have better health. And that's the only thing that we can't trade in. We can trade in our cars. We can trade in our houses. We can trade in our boats. We can't trade in our bodies. We have the one we have. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that Steve says, and I'm going to butcher this. So when he listens to this, he'll probably kill me for screwing it up. But something his father-in-law told him was there are only a handful of things that other people can't take away from you or influence you. And one of them is faith, obviously, but one of them is your health. I mean, that is something that government can't steal from you. They can't take from you. People can't push on you. You have your own agency to be able to handle that yourself. If you want to be healthy, you can be healthy. Now, some people have more capabilities to be healthy than others because they maybe have more money or in a different part of the country or whatnot. But in general, people have that. It's their responsibility to stay healthy. And it's no one else's. But they have that opportunity to do it.
Well, what we see, I know you've seen it too, is just our healthcare expenses and insurance have risen so much, and it's so expensive to be unhealthy that we have to get this back under control. And it really starts at, the upside down food pyramid that we were sold that we're not going to go into right now as we're a bunch of business owners. But what we do is we need to educate ourselves. We need to educate on how to be healthier and how to function better and learn, about what bad oils are and, the sugars and the dyes and so forth. They're finally pulling red dye out. And not a country's had it for 15, 20 years and we're finally pulling it off out of our foods. It's ridiculous. We're this, we're supposed to be this power in the world. And I just feel that we're behind.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Well, one of the things that we often talk about on the podcast is every business owner usually has a reason why they started their businesses. And that could be a personal thing. That could be a freedom thing. It could be a finance thing. I'd love to hear, what are your long-term goals for Ideal Teams that you and your partner's goal, but then how does that specifically play into your personal goals? Like you and Lynn's goals, is there something that weaves into where you want to end up in 20 years or your retirement or walk us through what's the long-term goal and how does that play into the personal goal?
Well, I'll start out by saying that that retirement word scares me.
I know, right?
I don't believe I'll ever be retired. And
you'd go crazy.
You and I have talked about that. Yeah. And here's the reason why. I mean, I'll go back to healthcare, right? Is I've seen so many men in my practice retire in their 60s and 70s. And as soon as they retire within a couple of years, they're on the other side of being healthy and they gradually just die, shrivel up and die. And I truly believe the reason why men have a shorter life expectancy than women is, number one, men are more stubborn and stupid with their health in most cases. Women take care of themselves better. But I believe really in that men and women's purposes on earth are different. Men are to provide for the family, right? So every day we go chop wood, we take care of our families by making an income to help provide. As soon as we retire, if you don't have a purpose of doing something else, your life goes downhill. I see it. I have 3 patients right now. The wives are patients and the husbands are too. And the husbands have retired in the last year and they sit on the couch. They watch TV. They don't do anything. They've gained 15 pounds. Their purpose is gone because they don't have a job to go to anymore. A wife's purpose is the family. Yeah. And that family never ends in most cases, right? Because then they have kids and then they have the grandkids and then they're running around the grandkids and that's just their purpose. So they have purpose until they're 100 because they're great grandkids. I mean, that's just what they love, right? So I don't think you can be healthy without a purpose. Yep. Right. Agreed. So I'll start by saying that. My son's a chiropractor in our office. You know that, Dr. Jordan. I'm super proud of him. Speaking of grandkids, awesome wife, high school sweetheart. 4 awesome kids, 6, 8, 4, and 2. They live 8 minutes around the corner. Love so that. We go to see them play basketball and soccer and baseball and all that kind of stuff and dance and things. So, inside of our office, it's the trajectory over the next couple of years. Our daughter's a senior in high school. She's going off to college down in Texas at TCU, more than likely. She's going to commit here in the next couple of days. I'm super proud of her. Going to be sad seeing her go away. Sure, I keep pushing Creighton. You got an awesome scholarship. Creighton. She's like, Dad, I'm leaving. Gives me a little tear. I'm the emotional one in my family. Yeah. But she's going to leave. And we're going to have 4 years with her in college. And I know my wife's going to want to be like, okay, where's Lila going to end up afterwards? So I would tell you it's a 4 to 5 year play in our practice where that practice will be handed over to Jordan. He'll do a great job and take it forward from there. We love Florida. I'm getting to like Texas. Yep. But what's great is the virtual world now. Yeah. You and I are on a virtual link right now. We're talking across the city. But I mean, this morning I was on with a doctor in North Carolina talking about a hiring. I was on a call with a contractor in California looking for an office manager. I mean, what's really cool is Chiro Matchmakers, Ideal Teams, all this can be done anywhere in the world. Yeah. And what I would love to tell you is that I'm not going to start that. I think Ideal Team is small right now compared to what we want it to be. Chiro Matchmakers is large for what it is inside of our profession. but we want to make Ideal Team the same way because we think we are the number one hiring firm inside of what we're doing because of the systems, procedures, and process that nobody else is doing with the assessments that we have, rights to at this point. So I just see that continuing to grow. And I would love to say, I'm going to go live in Australia for 3 months, and I'm going to coach from there and do, chiro matchmakers and Ideal Teams. And I'm going to go over to, Paris and live there. That would be the dream.
Yeah.
But when you have grandkids, maybe not as much, maybe a few months of the year. But the virtual world is wonderful. And I think that's where, I see myself going in the next, 15 years, is living inside this world and trying to build this company to have more impact.
Yeah. I mean, again, the beauty of being a business owner is that, and with business being virtual now, is that you can do wherever you want, whenever you want. You could be wherever you want at any time. And so whether it's Australia, Paris, or you guys head down to TCU, buy a house there, or head off to Florida.
I told my wife no house in TCU.
Okay, just Airbnb then. Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah,
right.
or invest
It'll
in
be
a
an
house
apartment, I'm sure. But yes, you're right. It's wonderful. It's that freedom.
Yeah, absolute freedom that comes from being a business owner. Before we wrap up, is there anything we didn't talk about? Anything anything you want to leave with the audience before we head out?
Yeah, you know what? If you're looking to hire, you haven't used a hiring agency before, reach out. If you have been burnt, didn't get what you want, I would say, you know what? Reach out and try again. I mean, our track record's awesome, really across any profession. If it's something we haven't worked in before, we'll help get it figured out and make it move forward that way as well. So you've got to hire right. I mean, the biggest expense inside of our businesses is people, right? Not your customer in most cases. It's the people that work for you, right? And I mean, study after study after study comes out that if you hire the wrong person and you have to let them go within the first year, you're usually wasting that first year's salary times 2.
Oh my gosh.
Because number one,
so costly.
You paid them, number one, all the time and energy and focus that went into training them. Number 2, number 3, you've got to replace them and retrain that next person. So I would tell you hiring right has to be so important, but you have to use the right assessment tools to make sure you're hiring the right person. Don't guess. We have tools out there to hire right, and you don't have to guess anymore. So don't guess. Even if it costs a little bit more than what you look at, in most cases, if you're going to do it yourself. I always tell doctors, chiropractors are classic. They want to do everything. They're the Swiss Army knife. Yeah. They want to do their own marketing, fix their own toilets, build their own sides, make their own T-shirts and adjust patients. It's just like, what are you doing? Right? Yeah. We're classic that way. But it's probably made us successful because we are willing to do that, right? But I tell doctors, when you get to the point that you're successful, and you got to realize, I would ask every owner out there right now, figure out what an hour of your time is worth. Okay? This is what I do with chiropractors, especially on the call, because I know exactly what their numbers are. So what's your time worth? And a chiropractor is usually worth seeing patients. They're doing probably $1,000 an hour, right? I say our team on average takes 39 hours to hire an associate. Woo. Okay. Yeah. 39 man hours. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's times 1,000. It's $39,000 of their time. So if it takes you that long, and you're not even really good at hiring, by the way, you're doing it as a side gig because you have to, and you're really not excited about it. And you're doing it on a Tuesday night, and you're doing interviews on a Saturday morning because you're so burnt out. You're spending extra time, and the ad spend that, on Indeed, which you don't have a corporate account, you have a one-off account. So you're getting charged way more because you have to have a corporate account to get lower rates. And, a lot of times what we've done is we've seen this, we actually buy lists now in a lot of professions that we're working with. So we have lists of chiropractors and now nurse practitioners and all these types of things. Office staff, not so much. We're talking professionals in that realm, but not office staff. Imagine the time that you're wasting, that you or your office manager or your team is going through. That wouldn't it be nice just to hire people that are good matches or interview people that are good matches instead of going through 150 resumes? You get to go through 4 or 5 interview process because you know the hard work's been done in the end. That's what we do. And that's what I'm proud of. And that's what I believe Ideal Team for anybody looking for a certain type of employee would be a benefit to them.
How can they get a hold of you if they are interested in finding some help in the staffing realm?
Yeah, so I'll just give you my email. It's mark@idealteams.com. So perfect. Mark@idealteams.com. And then you can call my personal cell, text me at 490-9595. I'd be happy to reach out, take your call, or if you text me, I can send you one of my scheduling links. Easy, jump on a Zoom call. 15, 20 minutes later, you'll know after I interview. Just kidding.
Yeah.
You'll know if we can work together or not.
Yeah.
It's a good match. And if it's for you not a good match, if you reached out, awesome. I mean, we want a win-win, right?
Yeah.
A win-win-win. I always say it's a win for the owner, a win for the team member you hire, and a win for us. Because hopefully if you have a great experience, you would refer us to your friends that help businesses.
Love it. Dr. Mark, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you, Jake.
Yeah.
Love what you're doing. Always love listening to you and the team as well. And I thank you for taking the time to interview me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
You too.